All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got ourselves another Terran versus Zerg here in the Korean Starleague. Getting into the semi-finals. I think these are still best of 3 up till the finals, and then the finals are best of 5. I'll have to double check if I can for you. But in the bottom right, we've got one of the best Zerg players on planet Earth. In the blue, he is Solar, representing Team Onside. He faces off in this series against the red Terran player in the Northwest. He's missing a couple of SCVs. He's not making any SCVs. His name is Cure. And his proxy got immediately scouted. Well then. So the second SCV was going to build there, but now he's like, well, I'm going to build over here because you don't know how many barracks I'm making. You don't know how hard I'm cheesing you, but the drones. But then the drones come. Oh, no. Well, normally when you build the barracks next to each other, you create the choke that stops drones from being able to reach your SCVs. So because he spread them out, they can't box themselves in, and he's just kind of stuck. So he goes back to building SCVs at home. This barracks will probably never finish. Oh, he found this one too. Oh. Oh, no, as Pig would say. Oh, wow. There you go. Okay, so again, I told you I actually did not know what was going to happen in these games. So that was a kind of brutal way for that first one to go. All right, so let's just get into game 2 then. He just absolutely crushed him there. If you can't build the barracks, it's hard to build the Reapers. Don't try and cheese Solar, because he'll come after you. He'll come for you. We just learned that one real quick. So, wow, look at that. Look at that. Already on game 2. What a great series, huh? In the bottom right, we have the blue Zerg player from Onside Gaming. He is Solar. Building the depot on the natural ramp, we have the red Terran player representing Team NV. He is Cure. Now, if you watch StarCraft 2, you know who Cure is. You know who Solar is. These guys have been competing and dominating for a tremendous amount of time. One of my favorite memories of Solar was watching him on one of his first big tournament runs back when I was hosting DreamHack Masters in Stockholm and at the Globen Theater. And that was a phenomenal tournament where Solar ended up going all the way to the end. That was same event. I think I spent the rest of that evening partying with Hero and departing. Actually, yeah, I hung out with all the Korean Protoss players. We got a little bit turned. You know, I'll remind all of you to, of course, consume whatever you do responsibly. But these guys are fun to party with. I'm gonna say that much. Solar as well. He was also there. He got everybody's drinks after he won. What a Chad. What a Giga Chad. So this game, we don't have the proxy, but this is a build that we've been seeing pop up a little bit more and more again recently. So basically, the Terran players are like, look, you guys are either trying to metagame us going for a fast expand with either the pool first shenanigans or the really greedy 3-hatch shenanigans. So when you go for this 2-Rax Reaper, not only does it wall your natural off and set you up for the mid game, but it's so you can just expand behind this, right? Like, you can get out on the map, be aggressive, harass, but also not necessarily commit fully in any way. You can do this with just one geyser, and you could even pull off the geyser if you wanted once he was done with Reapers, but he doesn't need to because it's going to give him enough money to get the command center. So what does the state of the game become? What does it coalesce around now? It's all about Zerg getting the third base, dealing with the Reapers. And that will be a challenge. The hatchery is going to start before the Reaper gets there. But this is one of those strategies where the Zerg player can get forced to build a lot of lings and have to move their queen over to that third hatchery to prevent it from getting shut down. You don't want to lose drones to the Reaper. You don't want to lose lings to the Reaper. But at some point, if you end up with 3 or 4 Reapers knocking on the door of that building hatch, suddenly you can put enough pressure on it to make the Zerg reconsider finishing it. This game, though, we can see add-ons have already begun. Cure is going to start his wall off now for real on his natural. And it's not a crazy amount of Reapers. Zergling speed is going to need 70 seconds to finish real time from this moment. So can he cancel this hatchery? I think maybe. It's all about getting the Reapers on there as early as possible and then just hitting it as much as you can. But this is like the big fear for the Zerg player, is that you're on 2 base versus a 2 base Terran. And typically when the Terran is able to get a cancel like this, you would think maybe you get counterattacked, but there's no Baneling Nest. We don't see a Baneling Nest. We don't see a Roach Warren for Solar. So he's just in the very uncomfortable, awkward position of trying to desperately save this hatch. It's so low. He does get the cancel. That's huge. That's an absolutely monstrous cancel to get. Just the fact that he has to completely restart it, burns the 75 minerals for starting and stopping. The Queens can't actually spread creep or do anything here because there's no creep, right? They can't use any of their abilities off creep. And meanwhile, Cure, he's got his stem a quarter done. Natural command center is ready to go. He's got 2 more barracks inside the main base. So you've got a 4 racks Terran on 1 gas with stim about to finish. And this is making me feel like Cure is going to push him with a bunch of stim unsupported Marines. He could even bring SCVs with this, I guess. If there's no Baneling Nest, then just Marines is really all you need. But this Overlord's not in position to see it either if he just goes around. So what happens next? Solar would want to drone up this base that's been delayed. Maybe he'll think about getting his 4th a little bit earlier. But I think there's a huge attack coming in from Kira in the next minute or 2 with this. The fact that there's no factory and no second gas means he can't go medevacs. So this has to be centered around the combat shield timing and the stim timing more than anything else. So I think biggest thing here for Solar is he is finally getting the Baneling Nest. He doesn't have a lair. Let's keep that in mind. So he can't get Baneling speed, and that would still be very far away even if he could. But just Lings and Banes should be able to defend this. This is going to break down to execution. It's a lot of bio. If he target fires, if he's very good with when he chooses to stim, then I think Cure can win the game with this attack. But the Queens are building up energy, Banelings are in production, and that should be the big one for Solar. Let's remember, the factory is only just now started. We only just have these gas being taken, so Cure's follow-up is going to be very slow if this doesn't deal damage. He's not going to be able to move out immediately. He still needs to start the starport and build medevac. So there's the first stim. He's just going to take the base is what it looks like. Throws the grenades. He's like, that's it. I just want to fight here right now. Stutter stepping backwards. And he says, if you try to bring those Banelings forward, I will kill you. Stim has run out. Now, is he going to pop it one more time? That would put his Marines at the point of being one shot by the Banes. So he does. Now continuing to step back. Can he focus the Banes? Gets off of the creep on the high ground. All the Banelings are still alive, but the 3rd base is still alive as well. So it doesn't get too much better for Solar. He's going to lose another Queen or 2, but the Marines are being depleted purely on the Queen defense. In some way, the 3rd base stands strong. We did talk about the transition coming for the starport, but we also didn't mention the 3rd command center only just begins now at the 6-minute mark. These Marines, no hope of them getting home. As we pointed out earlier, there's no support for them. This was a very, very committed attack. Oh, that one Marine. Does he make it away with 2 health? Look at you. Look at you. Oh, Bob the Marine came back. His homies were waiting for him. What gods? So now Solar can get back to chewing on these rocks like a chew toy made of something that isn't rawhide. I couldn't tell you what the best chew toy materials are. All I can tell you is I've been programmed to know that rawhide equals bad. But you can literally put anything else in, and apparently that's fine too. So +1 carapace on the way. Solar just has 1 evolution chamber, and his lair is very late. That's the side effect of this game. The way that it played out is that both players are very far behind in terms of their tech where they would typically be by now. Because usually the Terran goes straight for the medevacs and stim and bio. He's still chugging up to that +1 attack. Still needs to get another eBay. And what's really mind-blowing to me is that after that first attack failed and he is trying to play off the edge of creep, he's just out there. And he's very lucky that Solar doesn't have enough to dive on that, because I think if Solar thought he could, he would have. And it might have worked too. But playing off the edge of creep is the right move. And denying these 3 tumors would be huge as well, so he doesn't have to burn a scan, but it looks like he is going to have to do that. Baneling speed about halfway done. There's only 2 medevacs, so he cannot save all the Marines if he decided to abandon the post. But the tank gets a good shot onto the Banes directly, gets target fire off creep, and it is just mostly Marines versus Lings for that fight, but another wave of Banelings is done. And you see this stim from Cura. This is a little bit adventurous. It feels like a mild overstim on his part. Bio's going to get backed into the corner. He's just being so good about avoiding the Banelings, and Solar refuses to let him target fire the Banes. So he bleeds out enough of the units that he can load the rest up in the medevac, jumps over to the main base. We were talking about upgrades. Cure, +1. Baneling speed about to finish. And Zergling +1 armor is still about 15 seconds away. And he's only just now starting a second evolution chamber. So when that finishes, he can start +1 melee and +2 carapace for the Lings. But the third base is finally landed for Cure. Cure's plan is to just be insanely aggressive over and over and over again. Don't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Goes back into the main base. It is just the Lings here. He's happy to trade. That carapace upgrade makes it a little bit easier for him, but Cure's got a double drop loaded on the north side. Solar has plenty of Lings and Banes, and most importantly, Solar has Bane speed. So he's forcing those pickups a lot more consistently, a lot more easily now. And this is where, for Cure, you need to get on the ball. A lot of Marines is great. A lot of medevacs is great. He's going into Liberators. I actually do really like to see that. I think having some sort of bulwark against counterattacks is really important, or at the very least, send out something that requires a response other than Ling Bane to deal with. The Queens have mostly been at the front this game, just trying to push out the creep and deny the drops. Solar's playing big Ling Bane. 55 Lings, 13, 17 Banes. You know, he's shuffling them around a little bit. Looks like we had one of the observers drop out at this point. It was a pretty intense game so far, so I get it. It happens. Marine's now going to spread off creep, trying to avoid those Banelings, and does manage to lift up in the nick of time. Still has the double drop waiting over here, but the Queens are ready to catch that as well. Now +2 attack, +1 armor. And for the Zerg, +1 attack, +2 armor. So somehow it ends up all a bit of a wash. The Banes are going to try and get a run by on the third. He just takes the 3 depots. It says 3 supply depots. That's a lot of money. 3 supply depots is actually a lot of money if you think about it. That's 300 minerals. What is that? Is that 5? Is that 6 SCVs? 300 minerals is 6 SCVs. And the supply block. He's gonna get blocked up on this. Oh wow, the wall he rebuilt isn't even a wall. So you can see the pressure is starting to mount a little bit. Now there's still 2 Liberators on the north. We still have 2 drops on the bottom. A little bit empty. Is he gonna force it just to try and get his attention? I don't know. Well, we put it on patrol so that on Solar's mini map it looks really distracting. I actually love that a lot. Marines are gonna go up in front of the tanks, sieging from the low ground. So he's saying, I want to spread everything out, keep everything on the bottom of this ramp, move forward with a small pack, and then just draw you into me while the Liberators siege the north side. And this is beautiful, right? Because he needs the Hydras, he needs the Queens, and the Hydras do come out at a really good time to stop it. So maybe it wasn't as good as I was originally thinking, but he did kill this base. So you have a 3-base Terran versus a 3-base Zerg. He does have a 4th, but until the drones are here, it's not really a 4th. So now it's a 4-base Zerg. Okay. Tomato. Semantic. We get it. But being down 1 base, that's where Terrans are most comfortable versus Zerg. The real issue is at some point, Solar will definitely try to counterattack him. I feel like it's been coming this whole game. And this could be the big moment. Lots of tanks here exposed. The Lings and Banes coming in, so the tanks are gone. Marines shut down. And that's the reinforcement wave. So what happens next is Solar could spread out a little bit here, and maybe even try to set up here. But instead, he's just going to go for the SCVs. I don't know why I would suggest a sick flank to surround the army when he could just kill 17 SCVs. And I'll tell you what, that's a lot more than 300 minerals as he takes the 5th base in the northeast corner. So his army for Cure is about as far away as it could possibly be to do what he needs to do. I think the only thing that maybe Cure does here, he could still try to focus that base down. Oh, is the spread coming? Is he go? Oh, he's going for the counter attack of all time, or not? No, he's coming back home. He's coming back home again. Big counter attack and a big move out. 3 medevacs came forward with some of the Marines going up towards the main. We've got 7 health on this one. Very, very close. More reinforcements did get popped, but the drones got hit by the Liberators. 7 and 6 kills on each. Absolutely brutal. And here's what I wanted to say earlier, but couldn't he just load all of this up into the medevacs and doom drop him? You know, that feels like an option here too. He doesn't want to go complete YOLO though, which is understandable. He'll get his 4th base, and that puts the Terran now on 4 bases versus a 4-base Zerg, as that northeast keeps it even. And this is the dream scenario for Cure. He's got tons of money. His upgrades are looking fantastic. And we talk about things that are going well for Solar. He did make it to Hive. He was able to get the Hydralisk upgrades, so they can be really good. But he needs to get up something with a little more staying power versus the Bio. And that's either going to be creep spread so the Banes can kill everything. His creep spread's been kind of shut down this game. It's not the best. And that's mostly because Cure has literally been attacking from the earliest moments of this matchup. At no point has Cure stopped attacking at all. It's worth mentioning. He just literally hasn't stopped pushing ever. So if you're Solar, you just need to have the sickest engage with your Banelings, because everything else is going to feel like it's not enough. Vipers can't help, though. Blinding Cloud over the tank. I was going to say I like the Hive for adrenal glands, but the problem is that when it's this many Marines, the only answer is Banelings. If you don't get Banelings onto these Marines, they will kill everything. These are 2-2, +3 is on the way, but the Hydras are 1-2, the Lings are 1-2. So the siege tanks are sitting up on the high ground. Now he's going for the flank of the sentry. Lings from the south, from the east, and the west, completely enveloping this army. Only one tank reinforcing is even able to contribute to this fight. Everything else died instantly. Now let's see Cure spreads on the top of this high ground, or maybe he'll just keep running away because he doesn't want to try to spread against those Banelings. There are a lot of Banelings, let's face it. Currently looking at the units tab, we got 17 Banes, 50 Marines, 64 Lings, and 16 Hydras. But the 2 Vipers are the big ones. I would love to see that late game tech be used to get lurkers if possible. I know that it can be really hard to afford those. His economy is in shambles, let's face it. He doesn't have mules. He's at 169 supply nice, only has, $150 to make his next round of units with. So he's kind of forced to stick on Ling Bane. And I think that's where this is so difficult for him, is that normally you need to be on 1 or 2 bases above the Terran. Cure, he's got a planetary with 25 SCVs mining. He is a rich boy, and he knows it. So all he has to do is just force Solar to continue to trade his gas for the mineral units, and that will eventually just bleed him out, because he just doesn't have enough bases. You don't want to be a 4-base Zerg versus a 4-base Terran. That's not very fun. That's not very fair. Cure's main base is mined out, so is Solar's, so not really a lot of opportunity either way. Liberator comes up, will get popped by the Hydralisks. We love to see a little cheeky Liberator action. It can be so good. One Ling is going to see that big army on the bottom side. Now I'm wondering, there's only 3 medevacs, so he can't really doom drop. Okay, with 4 it gets a little more interesting. He's just going to try and siege this base from the high ground. We talk about shutting down the creep spread. This is exactly what I mean. No creep up here at all. The creep kind of goes towards the front of the army, so it's like a slip and slide more than anything else. But look at the pre-spread on the bio. He's just waiting. He's just saying, look, come up the ramp, move up the ramp, give it everything you got. There's the stim. I'd like to see some patrol commands used to spread the bio out a little bit more, but it may not be necessary. Are the Banes dead? There's still one more pack coming in. Gets a huge tank shot off, though. All the Banelings are gone, and that could not have gone better. Could not have gone better for Cure. Drones are on the run. Marines are going to stem forward and start ripping this force to pieces. Hydralisks on their own will not be able to do it. Drones are coming back for the fisticuffs, and GG is called. Cure ties this series up 1 apiece. Now this has turned into a pretty good matchup. This has turned into a pretty good best of 3, I guess. I think we're still best of 3. We've got one more replay for this series, and the score is 1-1. I think we know what that means. The final map is Royal Blood. I don't have the game length info or any of that. I have it all turned off. There are settings for that, so I do not know what actually happens in these matches. I just like casting them because it's fun. And these get played live at usually the semis and the finals are at 10, 11 p.m. my time. So it's very difficult schedule wise. So it's been nice to come over here on the YouTubes and get some more wonderful games in. I don't really get to cast stuff anymore, so this is the closest I guess I'm gonna get now. So it's a good time. I hope you've been enjoying this series, as I definitely have. In the bottom left, tied up 1 apiece, we have Solar as the blue Zerg, and as the top right red Terran player, we have Cure. These two just deliver constantly. If they were teenagers in a rural American town in the 80s, they would be pizza delivery boys, because Even demons coming out of portals from another world couldn't stop them from getting that pizza there on time. You know, when I think about famous pizza delivery men of the past, I think of course, Tobey Maguire in the hit movie Spider-Man 2, with the infamous pizza time reference, obviously. I also, of course, go back to Sam Porter Bridges in Death Stranding, who carried pizza across multiple kilometers through snow to get it where it needed to be on time. And that's a level of dedication that not everybody has. Some people see an unscalable mountain and they think to themselves, well, clearly nobody wanted me to go over this, so I should give up. Meanwhile, the real heroes of our time, they know the truth. That mountain was put there to keep uninteresting people away. That's right. That's right. It's called barrier to entry. Convincing yourself you can't do it is the first step on the path to failure. So Cure is going for a Reaper expand this game. Nothing out of the ordinary at all. Barracks, gas, Reaper, Marine. I love going for the one Marine. I love going for the one Marine behind the Reaper, because a lot of Zerg players, if they see you build Reaper into Reactor, it like sets them off. It puts them in like a feeding frenzy, you know? It's like a shark smelling blood in the water. They say they can smell from miles away when a fish is bleeding or something. So the Zerg players know when you don't build a Marine. They always know. And then the Overlord flies over your base. It sits over your command center. They make it dance. If Overlords could spray, they would do that too. But thankfully they can't. Thankfully they can't. Because that would be super illegal if Overlords could drop sprays. The Reaper does a little bit of poking, does not manage to deny the first creep tumor. He is aware of the third hatchery that's on the way, and he says to himself, well, look, I haven't been a greedy boy in this series yet. I just did a mass marine attack. I was going for some other shenanigans. But instead now we have 3 CC, Starport, Hellions. You love to see it. I mean, getting the Hellions out early. Let's examine the facts of this series so far. We've had no roaches and a lot of lings. And even in the games where it was standard-ish, Solar has been leaning very, very heavily on the Zerglin play. So I can't really imagine any scenario other than, look, if he's not going to build roaches, why wouldn't you want to open up with Hellions? Get out on the map, apply some pressure. Get a couple of juicy shots off to kill the lings. Oh, he goes up the ramp. Slow lings are waiting for him. He jumps back down. Nice little dodge there. But you can see these two players, very good. But it was definitely a hard attack to deal with, that fast bio rush. So the first 2 Hellions just go right past because he says, you don't even have ling speed yet, brah. You don't even have ling speed yet. I want your drones. Give your drones to me. And so he goes for them, and so he gets them. Now behind this, second gas, or sorry, yeah, actually it was the second gas because one in the main still hasn't been taken, into Banshees with Cloak and Hellions. So maybe he wants him to think that he's taking all of this gas because he can't see the guys that are in the main, but there's nothing over there to scout for Solar anymore anyway. Just a little Reaper Hellion poke trying to boop the Queen off creep as they start a few more tumors. And Callian in the chat mentioned when I talked about patrolling units behind the bio to split it up. Yeah, patrol splitting is the thing. Your units kind of naturally spread themselves out when you use patrol. So sometimes you can use that when you're setting up a defensive spot that someone is going to attack into, because it's easier than trying to manually click on all your units and spread them out. That's about it. And they'll still attack anything that comes in range. But this Overlord comes forward for a little bit more info. Marines will be able to pop it relatively easily. There are still Hellions in the back. And Solar is at a little bit of an easier time handling it. Hellions aren't amazing versus Queens. Oh, that Overlord. Was that like 1 health? So he did get a teeny scout, but he doesn't really see anything. I think he just saw that it's just bio, really. There's nothing insane happening. It's not going to be mech from Gumiho. And it's not Gumiho, so if that tells you anything, I've got Gumiho on my mind. But it's not Gumiho, so you're not really surprised to see Kira build barracks, because that's what he does. Is he going for the tumor? Yep. Great snipe. That right there is just a little play that if you play Terran, you're like, that's a standard move. If you want to be able to win games, that's something you got to be able to do. So the Banshees actually shut down the 4th base from building. We do have some lings going through the northwest, maybe checking for a little ninja base. But there is a Spore Crawler here with Queens, so the Spore Crawler's radius for the detection is rather large, so you can't really play around it on this expansion at all. I think instead you just keep them here and deny the third, or the fourth rather, and he does deny it again, even gets the cancel, so not bad at all. Is there anything these Lings can do? He already sent one to kind of check. The wall's not done, so are these Marines not enough? They might get eaten up here. They're backing themselves into a corner. Is that going to be enough to hold it? Hellions are coming back. Banshee's trying to deny the fourth one more time. But there's an Overseer now, so the Queens are no longer afraid of the Banshees. Queens are typically never really afraid of Banshees. I think back in the day, I had like a build where you went 4 Starport Banshee, back when mutas were still bad. And I think it's like 4 Banshees, 2-shot a Queen, but that's like 400 gas, bro. And that's with no upgrades either. So it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Believe they say in the business. Hellions can see the rocks they're being worked away at. Creep continues to spread. I like keeping the Hellions alive. There's not really any reason to get rid of them. I think they're always going to be better in Hellion mode. I'm not personally a huge fan of Hellbats, but being able to shut down Creep, being able to occasionally get big juicy hits on Lings, those are all things that can buy you a tremendous amount of time and space for a future attack. So if we compare this to the last game, when we talked about how everything had been delayed, everything was delayed a huge amount by the way that last game played out, because it was that big bio push and Solar's third base getting canceled by the Reapers really set him back. But now Cure, he's going to have his armory finishing in about 30 seconds. Maybe he'll make Hellbats. I don't actually think he needs to use Hellbats here, because I think they die to the Banelings too quickly. I feel like he would probably rather just have the Hellions try and kite around the tank, but maybe he wants them to just soak for the Marines, which is also acceptable. So kind of like that he leaves the Hellions back with the tank and moves forward with the bio, since he can just load these up into the medevacs. And he is going to focus down one Queen, steps away, and there's the pickup. Of course, if he tried to chase this, if he tried to run this down with the Zerglings, then having 6 Hellions behind him becomes a really smart play. I really love the way that Cure set this army up. At the same time, Solar has done a much better job of securing his economy. He's got that west base, the 4th base is done, so we have a 5-base Zerg versus 3-base Terran. I always talk about it. If you're a Zerg, you want to be up 2 bases. Looks like we just had most of the Marines popped on the right. Banshee's still clearing out the creep. I'm not the greatest observer ever. I'm working on it though. I appreciate y'all tolerating me. Double drop's going to hit the west side, gets an Overlord looking for a Queen. Not going to be able to get it, but with that pushback, I think he could try to hop, skip, and jump into the main base. Don't forget, these guys are still here on the right side. But 2-2 is on the way for Cure. I do not believe Solar has started his +2 upgrades. He is getting a Hive. Well, he's got an Infestation Pit, excuse me, so he can get a Hive. Now he's getting the Hive. And he's also finally started those +2 upgrades, so he's only behind about 30 seconds. He's about 30 seconds behind on his 2-2. Hydralisk range is coming in, though. This is where Solar is trying to power up his army to the actual powerful units of it. Like, Ling Bane can be great, don't get me wrong, but if you're using medevacs, you're jumping around, it's very difficult to force the Terran to fight where you want. So many units on the ground here. What's crazy to me is that there's been no sign of like a counterattack at all. I think that's got to be the biggest credit to Cure, is that Solar has not really been able to go on the other side of the map. And it looked like he was trying to set up for a surround, but then he sees this big bio move out and he says, well, I got to go back this way. And then Cure says, okay, well, now I can go back this way. And we've got 2 standoffs happening at the same time. He's trying to lead him into the mines. The mines actually do end up hitting a lot of the Marines. And these Widow mines do not pay off any way, shape, or form. So Cure says, all right, now I need to bring everything in the bottom right. He still has those 2 drops on the left side as well. Let's not forget about that. This is where the Hellbats with the medevacs. Okay, I can see it. If the Banelings aren't there, yeah, your Hellbats are going to do work. So the Marines get picked up and run back home. Siege tank is target firing down the Banelings. He actually does get all of the Banelings with the tank. Not bad at all. Still has the medevac with Marines in it, so he can continue to push out. Another bio move out towards the center of the map to try and clear that creep. Solar desperately trying to keep that creep spread in front of his base. It's the one thing stopping Cure from mounting a ground-based assault on him. But now he's got a sensor tower at the third. He's got a sensor tower at the fourth base. We're getting command centers out the wazoo. That is going to make things even more difficult for him. We do have Vipers not coming out. They will start to consume for energy. There's the lurker den we were talking about last game. Adrenal glands to finishing. That said, 3-3 is already on the way for Cure. He's been very, very adamant about getting these upgrades started on time. Does he see these overlords spreading out? Free overlords? Bueller? No? That's okay. The base is probably worth a bit more than an overlord or two. And there's actually a lot of lings here, but no Banes. Not anywhere near enough Banelings. The Marauder's just going to click on the hatch. Gets a decent mine shot up. And then now that one was okay. Here's the first counterattack. Finally, Solar is going to try and get a big push against Cure. Now, can the Banelings actually make it through? They blow up on a building command center that gets canceled, but the planetary still dies. I was going to say, the Baneling clicking on the regular command center was a choice, but he did get the actual planetary, so I feel like when you're a Zerg player, you kind of write that off mentally as soon as you make that move. You kind of just say, Jesus, take the wheel. I'm pretty sure these Banelings are either going to kill the planetary or I'm going to lose right here. And that's weirdly enough, I think I'm okay with that. I think of all the things that I can accept or not accept in my life and in my universe, that seems like one of the things I can accept. Meanwhile, this drop guy finally got cleaned up on the west side. See little blood spatters on the ground there. But Kira's just been leaving units everywhere. Look at this. How did two brothers sneak behind enemy lines? Oh no. Though the Zerg can smell him. It's that Old Spice body wash. Smells so good. He knows somebody has to be around here. I'm not sponsored by them, but anybody from that company is watching, feel free to toss me a buck. Solar's gonna try and jump on the drop over here. I like that he takes the empty medevac, splits them off. Is he just waiting for drones? He knows he can't cancel the hatch with 2 Marines, so he's like, I'm just gonna wait for drones. Well, now he's revealed himself. Now he's revealed himself completely. Solar's army is still split. Not necessarily where it needs to be, but I suppose it doesn't really matter anymore. He's got a lot of money. Both players have a lot of money now. Solar's gas bank isn't really where he wants it to be, but he's still investing in crucial upgrades. Getting the range upgrade for the lurkers. Getting the Widow Mines to blow up Cure Zone Marines. That's not a bad way to handle things either. And with this base still not actually done, being turned back into a planetary, he could go for it. I think it might be a little too risky, but he could have. This command center should be free farm. So Cure trying to take multiple bases at the same time. The advantage of doing something like this is that this base should be safe, since the attention is focused on the right side command center. The sensor towers have also given Cure a pretty tremendous amount of vision to do what he needs to as well. So I like that. I like that a lot. And now we have ghosts coming out, which means it's about to be our favorite time. It's about to be, you know, you look at the clock and you see that it says Pew 30. Yeah, that's what it's about to be. 62 more lings though, and 10 more banelings. How many lings are on the map? We're pushing 100 now. We're pushing 100 if not for the fact that we're also making 1 million banelings. He did try to poke up on this space, but there are some tanks to shut it down. Nothing really happening there. And Solar setting up a massive counterattack in the northwest. This planetary with no support should just get popped instantly. It's worth mentioning, Adrenal Glands is done for the Zerg player. We do not have 3-3 ready yet. 3-3 is done for the bio player, so Cure does have it, but is he a little too far exposed as he retreats into the tank line? He did lose a lot of the bio. Looks like he lost maybe a half of the tanks. What do we have for the counterattack? This medevac is still here. He could drop there. Doesn't look like he's going to. These are just changelings. Those are not actually Cure's units. So all he has is that single lone medevac out on the field, and I think that Solar will. He's not really close enough to it to do anything. So this could get a cancel on this. I think he could get a cancel here. Don't see why not. He tried to research a burrow on that hatchery. Interesting. Big move out in the southwest as Cure's going to bring the ghosts forward. It's interesting because the ghosts deal enough damage to 2-shot lings. They really help kill Zerglings, but you don't want the banelings to smash into them. That's what always makes it so hard. Nidus is wormed by Solar, but the bio is ready for it. What he just sensor tower, man. Sensor tower. Okay. Sensor tower, good unit. That's all I have to say. He had excellent vision, excellent awareness, and Solar has really tried to bring it to him, but That's the way that the game's designed right now. Those tanks stay really far back. The ghosts are the last line of defense, and then the bio kind of just annoys you to death from the front. It'll be very, very difficult to decide when you want to try and make that push in, as you don't know how deep the tank line might go. Gets a couple of big splash hits off on those banelings. Now another wave of units is stimming through the middle with Widow Mines, tanks, and ghosts galore. I think in this situation, you want to just try and pull those Marines back, let everything else just take that head-to-head engagement. So the siege tanks get blown up, but he destroys that southwest base. He's going for the Viper. Can he get the Viper? Nope. Is he going to drop for it? I know you won't, man. There you go. Getting the Viper kill is huge. We talk about the economy situation. Solar, he doesn't have too much money sitting in the bank anymore. He wants to do a lot with this counterattack. Lurkers are trying to get over to his base. He keeps trying to get a Nidus off as well, and it's just not happening. Snipes the Lurker, picks it off, and we've just got this Venn diagram. Eating the whole map makes it so difficult to try and get an attack on Cure without him seeing it coming. Gets the drop on the back side of the gold base. The drones have to run. He did not actually unload everything, so that one Marauder might eat a Baneling. Nope. No, he doesn't. Okay, well, he thought about it. Ghosts pew pew the lings to smithereens. We have not actually got to hear the snipe sound effect much, so it's a little bit heartbreaking. I would like us to get to the point where we have all 13 ghosts casting snipe on Hydras at the same time. Not because I'm biased, but just because I really love great sound design, you know? I'm also happy when I hear the Nidus erupt as well. It's just that we haven't really gotten to hear that. I don't think this Nidus really counts. You know, this is more like a giant creep tumor if you think about it. So he's finally getting a little close to the creep. The Lings, Banes, Lurkers, sieging up, coming in for the rest of the army, but there are a lot of ghosts in the back. The Banelings have been cleaned up. There's 3 Lurkers anchoring this, so if he A-moves into that, that could be a huge mistake. This is where Solar really starts to fight back in this. Get the Lurkers out, get the upgrades for them, use the Vipers, try and pull in, avoid the EMPs. And most importantly for the Zerg, you gotta dive on that army. Oh, he doesn't have the detection. Snipes 2 of the Lurkers down. He's going for the last one. He gets it. So Cure able to get all of the Lurkers. That should open things up for him to try to take another step forward. There's only one left on the map, and it is coming out of the Nidus Worm. So he had to bring it all the way out of the networks. He could have had it with his army earlier. Widowmine's going to take out 3 Hydralisks. And things are starting to collapse for Solar. Cure has just gotten too much damage done. I think even though Solar has a big, powerful army and he has really good tech available to him, Cure just got these bases up too easily. And the money's not really there anymore. Solar's expansions have been picked apart too much this game. But what a fantastic match. What an absolutely crazy, crazy best of 3 between these two. If Solar can pull a hat out of his bunny, I'll be very impressed. But this is a lot to ask for. EMP on the single lone infester. That just hurts. Now, he did miss the Vipers, so maybe some big blinding clouds. Gets one in the front of the tanks. They did not siege, so they're continuing to retreat back. The Widow Mines popped a little bit of them as well. Marauders, Ghosts, Marines, tanks spread out on top of the ramp, and they are going to eat that up. GG. Cure takes the 2-1.